1 year. Exactly 1 year since Ryan had become Lee Hee-sung's wife. The mansion looked softer tonight, warmer, quieter, almost fragile. The lights were dimmed low, casting a golden glow across the marble floors. White lilies sat carefully arranged on the side table, their faint scent filling the bedroom. On the bed, perfectly centered, was a small cake, simple, elegant, with "1 year with you" written in neat lettering. Ryan had done everything herself. She wanted tonight to feel real, normal, happy. She stood in front of the mirror, smoothing the fabric of her dress nervously, her reflection staring back with eyes full of hope and something dangerous close to fear. Hissing was late. The alone was not unusual, but tonight it felt different. She picked up her phone from the bed and dialed his number. Once, no answer. She frowned slightly and tried again, pacing the room this time. Hissing never ignored her calls, even during meetings, even when he was furious. He always answered. Always. Her heart began to beat faster. Pick up, she whispered, thumb hovering over the screen as the call rang out again. Nothing. Vine stopped pacing and stood still. Phone passed tightly to her ear as if holding it harder would somehow make it appear on the other end. A strange heaviness settled in her chest. She tried again, still nothing. Her fingers trembled as she lowered the phone, staring at the screen like it had betrayed her. For the first time since marrying him, fear crept in, real fear. Not the kind that comes from his dangerous world, but the kind that whispered something was wrong. The phone rang suddenly. Vine flinched and looked down quickly. Mom calling. Relief washed over her for a split second before she answered, forcing calm into her voice. Mom, she said softly. Silence. Then a shaky breath. Vine, her mother's voice cracked, like it had been worn down by crying. Vine straightened immediately. Mom, what happened? Her mother didn't answer right away. Instead, there was a muffled sound, like someone covering their mouth to stop themselves from sobbing. Vine's heart started pounding violently. Mom, please, she whispered. You are scaring me. And then Heesung took your father. The word didn't register at first. What? Vine breathed. Her fingers loosed around the phone, grip weakening as if her body was shutting down piece by piece. He took him by force, her mother continued, voice trembling. Men came, guns. They didn't say anything. They just took him. Vine shook her head slowly, disbelief written all over her face. No, she whispered. That's not possible. Why would Hisung do that? Her mother inhaled sharply, and when she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. Because your father killed his parents. The world collapsed. Ryan's knees gave out instantly, her body crumpling on the floor beside the bed. The phone slipped from her ear, but she didn't notice. She couldn't hear anything over the roaring in her head. Her father killed someone. No, not just someone, Heesung's parent. Her breath came out in broken gasps as tears streamed down her face. Her chest hurt, physically hurt, like something was ripping her apart from the inside. This is a lie, she whispered, shaking her head violently. It has to be. But her mother kept talking, each word cutting deeper. There was an old rivalry, business, power, hatred. Your father caused an accident and covered it up. They died because of him. Vine pressed her palm to her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Her father, the man she left, trusted, defending her entire life, was a murderer. And worse, he had destroyed Heesung's entire world. A sob tore out of her another thought, crashing into her mind. Heesung is going to kill him. Of course he would. That was not sudden. This was not rage. This was revenge. She remembered it all now. The way her father had been aggressively against her marriage. How he had tried to manipulate her, guilt her, threaten Heesung. This man is dangerous, Ryan. You don't know what kind of monster you married. The marriage will end badly, but she had not listened. She had chosen love. And now, love was standing on the edge of flood. One scrambled to her feet, wiping her tears roughly as she dialed another number with shaking hands. Heesung's assistant. Once, twice, again, again. She called so many times she forgot the counting. Her thumb moving on instant while her heart screamed. Finally, the call connected. Hello, a voice answered. Thank God, Wine gasped. Listen, I need to talk to Heesung right now. Wine. Her breath caught painfully. That was not the assistant. That was Lee Heesung. Her lips trembled. And then she broke completely. Her sobs poured out uncontrollably. Fear, shock, heartbreak crashing together all at once. She couldn't even form words anymore. On the other side, Heesung took a sharp inhale like he was bracing himself. Wine, he said, voiceless, strained. Stop crying. She didn't. I can't, she cried. Please just listen, tell me where you are. Silence. Then faintly in the background. Get this gun off my head, Lee Hee-sung. Wine froze. Her father's voice. A metallic clink followed, something falling to the floor. Wine cried desperately. Please, I'm begging you, just tell me where you are. Hee-sung muttered something under his breath. A curse broken and bitter. For a moment, he said nothing. But because telling her meant destroying everything they had. Because this was what he had married her for, and yet she was the only person he couldn't lose. Come alone, he said finally. Voice rough. I will send you the location. Wyan didn't hesitate. I'm coming, she whispered. And just like that, The anniversary turned into a nightmare. The basement smelled like cold concrete, metal, and old sins. Heesung sat on the edge of the leather couch, elbows resting on his knees, head bowed low. The dim yellow light above flickered slightly, casting harsh shadows across his face. His jaw was clenched so tightly it ached. His hands were shaking. Lee Hee-sung had pulled triggers without blinking. He had ordered executions with a calm voice and steady eyes. He had watched men beg and felt nothing, but tonight his hands trembled. Across the room, tied to a chair, was Kim Dong-ha, Wan's father, the man who had stolen everything from him. Dong-ha lifted his head slightly, blood already drying at the corner of his mouth. Hee-sung's men stood around them in silence, guns lowered but ready, eyes flickering between their boss and the man who was supposed to die tonight. One signal, one nod, and it would be over. Boss, the assistant said carefully, breaking the suffocating silence. What are your orders? Hee-sung didn't respond. His chest felt tight, like something heavy was crushing his lungs. Every breath felt like wrong. His vision blurred for a second, and he squeezed his eyes shut, memories slamming into him without mercy. Fire, twisted metal, blood on asphalt. His mother's hand slipping from his grasp, his father's voice gone mid-sentence. He swallowed hard. Dong-ha let out a rough laugh, the sound sharp and mocking in the quiet basement. "You're hesitating," he said harshly. The great Lee Hee-sung hesitating. Hee-sung's head lifted slowly. His eyes were empty. "Shut up," he said quietly. Dong-ha laughed again, louder this time. "Why? Because she is your wife? Because my daughter sleeps beside you every night. That did it." Hee-sung stood up so suddenly the couch scraped loudly against the floor. In two strides, he crossed the distance between them and slammed his face into Dong-ha's face. The crack echoed. Dong-ha's head snapped to the side, blood sprang onto the floor. "I wish," Hee-sung said through clenched teeth, grabbing Dong-ha's by the collar and yanking him upright. "You were not Wan's father." Another punch. "I wish," he continued, voice breaking despite himself. I had not cared enough to hesitate. Another punch. Dong-ha coughed, blood dripping down his chin. But he still laughed, weak, cruel. "I don't regret it," he spat. "Your father was getting in my way. Your family was in my way." The room went silent. Hee-sung froze. Something inside him snapped, clean, sharp, irreversible. He grabbed the gun from the table beside him, pressing the cold barrel against Dong-ha's forehead. His hand shook violently now, breathing coming out ragged. "You took everything from him," he whispered. "And you think I wouldn't return the favor?" Dong-ha smirked through the blood. "Do it." The guard stiffened. The assistant took a step forward. "Boss." The sound of footsteps interrupted them. Soft, rushed, desperate. The basement door creaked open, and then Vine walked in. She didn't slam the door. She didn't shout. She walked in like a cold breeze through hell. Heesung's head turned instantly. For a split second, his eyes softened, painfully, but before he forced himself to look away as a tear slipped down her cheek. She looked smaller than usual, fragile. Her face was pale, eyes red and swollen from crying, but her spine was straight, determined. Dongha's eyes widened when he saw her. Princess, he croaked. Look at this. Your husband is going to kill me. Wayan didn't look at Hisang. She didn't look at the gun. She stared at her father. And her voice, when she spoke, was steady, deadly calm. I'm ashamed, she said quietly. Ashamed that I am your daughter. Dongha stiffened. The words hit harder than any punch. You killed someone's parents. Wan continued, her hands trembling at her side. You destroyed his family, his life, and you lied to me all these years. Her father opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She finally turned to Hisang. Seeing him like this, broken, shaking, bleeding from wounds that were not visible, shattered something inside her. She stepped closer. He ruined everything, Hisang said hoarsely, eyes looking onto hers now. He ruined my life, Anne. How do you expect me to stop? Tears streamed freely down her face as she shook her head. I know, she cried. I know you are right. She took another step forward, ignoring the guns, the guards, the danger. But if you kill him, her voice broke completely. You will lose yourself too. Hisang laughed bitterly, turning his face away, wiping his eyes roughly with his thumb. And what am I supposed to do? He asked. Just let him live? One inhaled sharply. Then kill me with him, she said suddenly. The room froze. Hisang turned back so fast it hurt. What? He whispered. If you kill him, one continued, voice trembling but firm. Then kill me too. Because I can't live watching you become this. His face went black, completely empty. Slowly, he lowered the gun. He looked away again, jaw clenched, shoulders shaking as silent tears fell. I will let him go, he said finally, voice hollow. But you leave too. You leave my life, everything we built. Ryan's breath hitched. She stepped forward without thinking and cupped his face in her hands. He sank back. He pulled her into his chest, arms wrapping around her tightly as he cried silently. Forehead pressed against her shoulder. The men around them stood frozen, shocked, like they were watching the sun rise at midnight. Ryan held him, fingers threading into his hair, heart breaking with every quiet sob he tried to hide. She pulled back slightly, wiping his tears with trembling hands. "Look at me," she whispered. Heesung opened his eyes, red, devastated, vulnerable. "Please," she said softly, "leave this. Start our life. I wouldn't see him again. He is dead to me." She glanced at her father briefly, then looked away. Dongha felt something twist painfully in his chest. Death would have been kinder. "Don't ever call me your daughter again," Wyan said coldly. "You are a murderer." Heesung looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I will do whatever it takes," he said quietly, "to keep you." He turned to his men. "Untie him, let him go." They obeyed instantly. Wyan didn't look back. She walked out, Heesung beside her, leaving blood, guilt, and a broken past behind. The drive back to the mansion was silent. Wyan sat in passenger seat, finger laced tightly in her lap, staring out at the city lights rushing past. Her heart still thudded painfully, as if it had not realized they were safe. Behind the wheel, Heesung's hands gripped it firmly, knuckles white, jaw tight, eyes forward but hollow, as if replaying every punch, every word, every moment of the basement in his mind. Neither of them spoke, neither dared. Words felt too fragile, too small, too human for what they had survived. Finally, Vine whispered, almost to herself, he is alive." Heesun glanced at her, expression softening just slightly, but then he didn't answer. She knew he didn't need to. He had let him live. That was enough. The mansion came into view, but into a golden light. Inside, everything was exactly as Vine had left. The bed with the cake, the lilies on the side table, a small setup for their 1 year anniversary. It felt like stepping back into a memory, one that was meant to be gentle, soft, and safe. Heesun parked the car and turned to look at her. For the first time in hours, maybe days, he allowed himself a small, tired smile. "This," he said quietly, voice low and rough, "this is a blessing." Vian let out a watery laugh, tears still lingering at the edges of her eyes. "You get used to it," she replied, voice shaky, but a small smile tugging at her lips. Heesun nodded. "I need to change," he said softly. "Then let's celebrate properly." Vian watched him disappear down the hallway. He returned a few minutes later, freshly showered, dressed in the simple white shirt and black slacks. His hair was slightly damp, tousled, and yet he looked impossibly like a man she had fallen in love with. Strong, intimidating, untouchable, but still hers. Heesung approached the bed carefully, eyes soft as they landed on her. He handed her a glass of wine. To us, he said. Wine took it, fingers brushing his briefly, as felt the warmth of him settled into her bones. To us, she echoed, letting a small smile slip through her tears. They sat together, side by side, letting the quiet fill the room. Heesung reached out, brushing a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. Thumb lingering against her cheek. "I am sorry," he murmured, "for everything. For today, for making you worry." Wine leaned her head against his shoulder, heart aching and fluttering at the same time. "It's not your fault," she whispered. "You saved him and us. That's all that matters." Hiseng's arm tightened around her, holding her as if he could shield her from the entire world. "I can't lose you," he admitted, voice low and raw. "Not to anyone, not to anything." Wine tilted her face up, letting their foreheads against resting together. "You wouldn't," she said softly. "You will never lose me." They sat like that for a long moment, letting the world outside fade away, the danger, the betrayal, the chaos. Only the two of them existed in the golden lit room. The cake forgotten for now, the anniversary no longer just a celebration of time, but a testament to survival, love, and trust. Eventually, Hissing pulled back slightly and looked at her with a small, mischievous smirk, despite the lingering shadow in his eyes. "Now," he said, voice gentle but teasing, "let me change the rest of the night into something happier. No more tears, wine. Tonight is just ours." Wine laughed softly, leaning into him again. "I like the sound of that," she said, heart finally slowing its frantic rhythm. Hisek smiled, soft and warm, and kissed her temple gently. "Let's celebrate," he said simply, and in that quiet, fragile peace, surrounded by candles, flowers, and the small cake, they began to heal together. For the first time in a long time, the world felt like it could be theirs. The anniversary was not just a day, it was a survival, it was love, it was them. And as Isang held her close, whispering soft words only she could hear, Wan knew no matter what darkness had touched them, no matter what battles awaited, she would never let go, because this was there forever.